Hey everyone, Stephanie here, coffee drinker, book lover, and reviewer of many things, and today I'm going to be spoiling Blue is for Nightmares. But first, in case you didn't see my review video, you can click this little black bar thingy here if it pops up. If not, push pause and it should pop up, and you can click there to go to the review and then come back to this video. That way, maybe you don't want the spoilers. Maybe you just want to hear what if it's a good book or not. My shirt, if you just want to watch the spoiler and you didn't watch my review, is this pretty little flowy shirt. And yeah, they're sides, but it's got the little flappy wings, and I really like it. Yeah, I'm silly. And my coffee is Starbucks breakfast blend, which is different from the one I normally have. Okay, so if you watched my review, you know that this book was for me. Um I feel like if I was younger, I would have liked this book. I feel like the younger me, the high school me would have been like, "Oh, yes." Um but the 32-year-old me is like, "Eh." It's a little cringy in places because they are high school students, and there are some jocks in here that are stereotypical, and there are some preppy girls that are stereotypical. Um, the only thing that's not well, I mean, I guess I don't know if I really see that in movies though. Anyway, so this book started out kind of weird for me because it starts out in a nightmare. Are talking about a nightmare, and it's like what what it kind of felt like when somebody's watching a movie and you walk in and you're like, "What? Why is that happening? Well, who is that?" And the person's like, "Okay, let me just start over for you." That's how this book felt. I just wanted them to start over because I felt like I walked in the middle of something and I was like, "Eh." So, she has the first thing, like I said, she has a nightmare, and she's been having apparently she's been having these nightmares for a while, and so her friend Stacy, or Freya, sorry, Stacy's the girl, the main character. She's been having these nightmares, and um she starts getting choked in the nightmare, and she like just as she is like, 'cause she's reaching up trying to unstrangle herself in the dream, and her friend Drea is like, "Wake up!" And she like flings her hand out, and when she does, the ring that her grandmother gave her goes flying through the window. How close was this girl's bed to the window? That's my question. Enough for them to walk around, I'm assuming. Um, because so the window goes through and it breaks the window, and I think one of my favorite things is Drea, the girl she was actually having the nightmare about, um, is like, "Oh, it's fine." Um, and she just like gets up and starts digging through her drawer and gets her ex-boyfriend's jersey because he's like a hockey player or something, and tapes it up over the hole in the window. I was like, "What?" And, like, Stacy is even like, "Is that Chad's, um, jersey?" And she's like, "Yeah, it came in handy for something, didn't it?" But her and Chad are still friends. Um, yeah, weird. And, I didn't like I said, I didn't really have, like, favorite parts, so I just went through and, put my little I found my magnets. I found my magnets, okay? I love these things. I'm so excited that I found them. Um, and then so immediately after that it's like 4:30. It's 4:30 in the morning. I'm not gonna read this to you, I'm just gonna skim through it and tell you how I felt. And, now they can't go back to sleep because, you know, the window is broken and all of that stuff. Oh, yeah, they're in dorm rooms, and they're on the 1st floor, so they don't feel safe now that the window is broken. I was like, "If if a ring broke the window, how were you feeling safe before?" That's just you know what? Even as a teenager, I thought things like that. I was like, "Is this place safe? Like, can I get kidnapped?" And no one wanted to kidnap me. Um, but yeah. Um, so then the phone rings and, Stacy answered it, and she's like, "Hello?" And the voice says, "Is Dre there?" An unfamiliar boy voice, lazy, muffled, and distant. She glanced over, she's asleep. "Well, wake her up." No. This is how I read it in my head. But I'll have her call you at some normal time. You know, when people aren't supposed to be sleeping. Can I ask who's calling? A friend. Can you be more specific? But instead of answering, he just hangs up. And then Dre is like, "Who was it?" Dre pretended to be asleep while Stacy had this whole conversation and then is like, "Who was it?" Um, I just thought that was funny. Let me see. Okay, the next funny part Stacy obviously Stacy didn't go back to sleep, and, then she had to go to French class, and she's tired, and she's, like, daydreaming, and the teacher is like, "Hey, Earth to Stacy, stop daydreaming. You have 10 minutes left to finish the test." And sorry, um, her friend PJ, we don't find out what that stands for. He, like, tries to get her to cheat and, holds his paper off to the side, but all she can see is the character that he's been doodling on his paper, and the teacher's like, "Your own work." Like, "Hello, I can see you." He um, and then, when the teacher snaps, Stacy bites their like, because she had her pencil in her mouth because she was trying to, her brain was trying to work through the sleep, I guess, and she, like, bit down on the end of the pencil, so the eraser went into her mouth, and she, started choking on it, and she started coughing, and it shot out and hit the back of another the girl in front of her, the mean popular girl. And, it said that her hair was so bulletproof that she didn't even notice. I was like, that's kind of funny. Um, and then, like, she just, like, slips into sleep, and we don't know when it actually happens because, her and PJ are, like, laughing to each other, and, then she's like, "I, on the other hand, was too tired to truly laugh. I needed sleep more than I needed this test, and besides, attempting to fill out any of the blanks was a waste of my fine pencil lead. I'll beg madam after class to retake it anyway. Why waste my breath and school supplies?" And then suddenly her eyes droop close, and she starts fighting it, and she tries to, keep herself propped up because obviously she doesn't wanna go to sleep in the middle of class. And then she's like, "PJ's still laughing audibly now. His mouth is arched wide open, and his green candy dyed hair is wiggling out like snakes." Like, it was like, "Whoa, whoa. Huh? Are you just being dramatic?" And then you realize that she's sleeping. So it was like it's just like some of the transitions were a little like, uh, uh, uh. But, I did think it was funny, and apparently, every time like, you start to realize every time she starts dreaming, she starts to have to pee. Um, yeah, so that happened, and then my next spot that I actually liked was towards like, my other 2 spots were, like, way here, like, my first yeah, but I'm gonna talk about so, while everything's going on, I was trying to figure out who done it, I kinda suspected different people throughout the book, and, one of my first peoples was Chad. I was like, "Did Chad do it?" Because maybe we see that he gets jealous when she walks away with another guy or when she's talking to another guy, and I was like, "But Chad wouldn't murder the girl that he likes, right?" Drea started getting, threatening, like, "In 4 days, you're gonna die," kind of situation. And at least that's how decipher it. Encipher it? My brain's that's how they decipher it, and so, um, they're worried, of course, and the phone calls kinda stopped for a few nights when their friend Amber came and slept in their room, and I was like, "Could it have been Amber doing these threatening, these stalkery phone calls?" Um, because, like, they're, like, besties, and then Amber is, like, just a girl that comes and hangs out with them. Um, that's how it felt half the time, like, Amber just puts herself in the group. Um, and, she's in a room a few doors down. Anyway, and then I was like, "Mm, maybe it's not I still wanna know why Amber had the phone number for a payphone. Anyway, because they star 69 the call, and it goes to the payphone in front of the library. And then later, they see Chad. First, they see their friend Donovan, and then they see Chad, and I was like, "Is it Chad?" I was back to Chad again. I was like, It was him. I knew it." And, because whenever they ask him who he was calling, he was like, no one." And he, like, walks away. And it's like and then, you go back to Amber, you're like, "Oh, well, maybe Amber and Chad are working together." And then I was like, "No, no, no." Um, and then their friend PJ, so the one that was in that scenario earlier, I don't know how to describe him. At first, I thought don't wanna sound judgy. I don't want people to come at me because I accept everyone as they are, okay? I have no problems with gender, like, if you can be you, okay? I have no problems. I will be your bestie if you want me to be. So don't make it sound like I'm being mean. The way they describe PJ, I thought, "Oh, he's the gay friend in the group." Because, these books, there's always one. And then it turns out him and Amber had been together, like, together. They dated, and then towards the end of the book, like, throughout the whole book, he's like he hits on her. But the way he talks sometimes, I was like, "Alright, he's the high school student that's figuring himself out." Like, he's gonna find out by the end of the book that he doesn't like girls, or maybe he's, he likes both. Okay, that's fine too. But they played it really hard that him and Amber were together and that they were going to be back together. And I didn't like that. I was like, Amber was pretty like, no, in your dreams, that's not gonna happen. Like the whole first half of the book, she's like, been there, done that, not doing it again. Like she's very adamant. And then the night before Drea goes missing, the night at like after Veronica is murdered, she hooks up with him in his car. It's been over a year since y'all were together, and you've been saying no to this boy, and he's been fluid in the way he talks to people. And okay, he's very stylish. And like whenever the girls are like, "Oh, what do you think of this?" He straight up told one girl, "No, that's not a good look for you. You should put this on instead." "Oh, stunning." Oh. And so I was like, "Okay, that's." But then for them to get back together, I was like, "Okay, maybe them two are the kidnapping, murder, stalkery people." But then something happened the night before also that I was like, because they were trying to stop Veronica from going into this building. She had snuck out of her room. They were supposed to be watching her. And she got out of her room. And they saw an email and they were like, okay, she must have gone here. And so they went to go find her because it was her death day. And when they got to the building, um, Drea started having a panic attack and she like faints sort of like almost faints. And Amber was supposed to go get security. And instead, this girl sees Donovan and is like, Drea needs help. You couldn't have gone a little bit further and got security that's like right there next to where he was. Um, and so she runs back with Donovan, and Donovan is awfully like touchy with Drea. And then I was like, I don't trust him. I was like, "I do not trust Donovan anymore." And I was like, "But what was Donovan like, they're out after hours. Security apparently goes around all the time. So, how was he out?" And whenever he was asked about it, he said, "Oh, I was sketching the moon." That comes back later. But what the kicker that got me back to Chad was because then Chad comes running up and it was like, "Wait, wait, wait, wait. Where did you come from?" And he's like, "Oh, I was walking across campus." "How did you get out of your dorm? Sneak out your window?" Uh, and so Donovan and Amber go with Drea to the hospital because Chad runs to get the security and they get an EMT and all that stuff to take her to the hospital. And then it's just Chad and Stacy goes, "Well, I have to go find Veronica." So she goes through the window of the school or, one of the buildings for their school, and Chad's like, "I don't think this is a good idea," and it doesn't seem like he follows her. And she goes in and she starts to notice that there is one door open in this long hallway of doors, and she's creeping along, and of course, what does she find? What does she find? She finds Veronica's dead body. And, then she starts, to get woozy and she faints. And apparently, Chad called 911 and then, like, because he says that, he first checked on Stacy, realized that she was still breathing, and then went to go check on Veronica, realized that she was and then tried to open the window. Why were you opening the window? My thought was, he used that window earlier. That this is just what I thought. I was like, he must have used that window earlier, and he was, making sure he was caught touching it so that his fingerprints would be on it. But, uh, maybe it wasn't him. I'm not gonna tell you who it was, okay? So later, um, the police my next part. So now that I've told you, like, "I thought that, and then I thought that person, and then I thought that person." So all of that, the cotton one. Uh, so she wakes up and, the next morning, and there's someone banging on her door. So she throws the door open. She's like and it's a police officer lady. And I love how she's like, "Are you Stacy Brown?" "Yeah." And, of course, she talks about the way the officer looks and, says that her name shouldn't be Officer Tate, it should be Officer Tart. And, the officer flashes the badge and was like, "Let me ask you a few questions," and then she makes her call her mom, and, or she tells her to call her mom, and she's like, "Wait, I have questions too. My roommate is missing, and I wanna know what you know about it. What are you gonna do about it?" And the officer's just like, "How long has she been missing?" "Since last night." Um, Apparently she was dropped off and never made it back or dropped off at the dorm and never made it back to our room. And the officer just dismisses it completely, and it's just like, "Oh, she's probably just at someone else's room." And she's like, "I have been roommates with this girl for 3 years. She's always come back to our room, and if she's not, she tells me, even when we're fighting." And the officer's like, "Well, people grow apart, they're teenagers." She just dismisses it, and, the part I did like is before she starts asking Stacy questions, she does make Stacy call her mom, and she talks to her mom. And, where is it? I thought it was funny that the officer, like, she asked for Stacy's mom's number, and so she tells her the number, and, it says, "I roll my eyes and rattle off to the number, thinking about how completely senseless this formality is. How completely senseless that my mom, teeny bopper wannabe mom, has to grant the has been granted the title of adult, while I am still considered a child." Um, we find out throughout the whole entire book that her mom talks to, like, all of her friends like they're her friends, and she even makes the, comment that her friends will call her mom when they need advice, like, on boys or, other stuff that's teen related, and she's like, um but I did like that her mom takes it seriously, and she's like, "Are you in trouble?" She's like, "No, I don't think so." And she's like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Well, Drea's missing." She's like, "Do you need me to come up there? Do you need me to stay with you?" Like, she's like, "This could be serious. There was a murder on your, campus, because by now all the parents know." Because, uh, it's suggested to the students, in an assembly that's about to come up, that, they go home for the long weekend until things calm down, or a week, like, they're getting a whole week off or something like that. And, so instead of the officer talking to her in her dorm room, she takes her in and actually, like, interrogates her. I was like, "So is she a suspect?" I mean, I get it, she was there, but I feel like if she had, murdered this girl, wouldn't she have left before anything, the police got there? I'm just saying. Um, maybe not. And then I went back to thinking that it was, then I went back, okay, then I thought that it was PJ again, because after she gets back from the police station, when she's dropped off, she goes to PJ, and he's dyed his hair black, and everything is dark, and he's, like, wigging out. I don't know if that's even a thing people say anymore, but he's, like, freaking out. He's like, "They're gonna think that I did it," and she's like, "Why would they think it's you?" And, he's like, "Well, everyone knows that I hated her." And she's like, "So what's your alibi?" And he's like, "I was here dyeing my hair. No one was around, because whenever I dye my hair, my roommate leaves." Um, and I was like, "Oh, I mean, it doesn't take that long to dye your hair. You weren't dyeing your hair all night." And, we also know that he picked up Amber and Drea from the hospital, and I was like, "Uh-huh." And then we talked to Amber, and um, we find out that she didn't walk Drea all the way to their room. She left her in the lobby and then went back out to PJ's car. Hmm. So, Stacy goes back to her dorm, and she grabs, the cell phone that, was Amber's because Amber had left her bag, whenever she went to the hospital with Drea, and, Sta yeah, Stacy just picked it up and stuck the cell phone and oh, by the way, the cell phone was dead last night whenever they needed it. And Donovan's sketchbook into Stacy's bag. I mean, Amber's bag. And then whenever she got back to her dorm, she plugged in Amber's phone. And sorry, tired. And then she reached in and grabbed out Donovan's notebook or little sketchbook, and she sticks it in her jacket pocket. And she grabs the cell phone and puts it in her pocket also. And she's like, all right, I'm going to go and find Drea myself. My dreams say that she's going to be in the woods, and that's where I'm going. And so she heads off. Um, I'm going to save my bestie uh, style. And just as she gets to the woods, the phone rings and she answers it, and Amber is like, "Oh, good. Okay, so, you have my phone. Awesome. I just told police officers to come here." Oh, before she left her dorm, Stacy called and told Officer Tate that she was going into the woods to find Drea because she was pretty sure that's where she was. And Officer Tate was like, "Okay, we'll be there." Well, Amber was like, "I need you to meet me in my dorm room at this, immediately because I need to talk to you because I want to go talk to the police." And Stacy was like, yeah, you already talked to the police and you lied to them, so I'm busy." And she hangs up and she starts going further into the woods, and then she hears footsteps. And so it kind of is it Amber? Is it Amber? And I'm not gonna spoil that ending for you. I'm not gonna tell you who the bad person is, but I am going to keep um this going. And then Donovan shows up and he's like he pretends. He feels like he's being chased, okay? I mean, she feels like she's being followed also. Who knows now? Who knows anymore? When you're in the woods, you can't see anything and it's getting dark. What? Why didn't you go into the woods earlier? Um, anyway, so Donovan has her running. Oh, before that, she steps on a stick, so her foot had a stick sticking out of it, and he helped get the stick out, and she wrapped it up. And so now she's just trying to keep up with them because he's helping her run through the woods. And he's like, "I don't hear anything anymore." And like, he has them crouched down. And he's like, she's like, "I can't run anymore." She's like, "I have to take a break." And he's like, "Okay, you hide behind this boulder," because there's a big old boulder. And he's like, "You hide over here and I'll go look around to make sure they're not following." And she's like, Okay." And, and in a sense, if he takes off running and something chases after him, you'll see it, right? Because he's a big person. He makes a lot of noise when, he's like a sports guy and an artist apparently. And so he handed her a little pocket flashlight, and she's like, "Okay." So she's sitting there and she's like, "Wait a minute." And she looks up because she wants to see if she can tell which direction campus is because she doesn't realize what direction he's been dragging her. And the moon is full. No, it's It's waning. Is it? Hold on. Um, mm, 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 mm. Oops. I'm gonna find it. Hold on, hold on. Anyway, I don't know. So she looks at the sky and she's like, "Oh, okay." So then she looks at the stars and she's like, "Okay, that direction is campus. We're going pretty much the same, the right way." And she's like, Donovan said that he was drawing the moon. So she pulls out his, because she has his sketchbook, and she pulls it out and she flips it open and to the last page, and the moon picture is not of what the moon would have been the night he said he was sketching. And she's like, "Wait, that would like if we're at this moon now, this moon would have been like month ago, a month ago." And then she's like, and she starts panicking, and then her phone rings, and no, the phone didn't ring yet. She starts panicking and she takes off running and she finds a building in these woods and she goes inside and she starts like snooping because she's like, Drea, in her dream, Drea is close by. And so she's looking through, she sees a bag and she's looking through it or whatever, and then she hears footsteps coming towards her. And who is it? Who is it? I'm not gonna tell you, because it is the person who has been causing all the issues, and then a little bit of time goes by, and her cell phone rings, and of course it's Amber, and Amber's like, "Okay, so the police are here and we're waiting for you." And she's like, "No, no, 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 no. Officer Tate said she would meet me in the woods. I need her in the woods." And then the cell phone gets hit out of her hand, and the person has her against the wall. Obviously, she gets out alive because there's another book. um, there you go. Spoiler free ending, but with spoilers. Um, I was actually shocked of who it was until the end of the book. And then I was like, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. And yeah. We also find out, I like that we found out that Veronica wasn't really receiving anything and that she was murdered because she had a plan that she was going to scare Drea, and on her Veronica's death day she was going to sneak out her window with her stuff and go on a safari vacation with her parents and not tell anyone, including the school, because she likes drama. And she thought that that would push Drea over the edge and then she could have Chad all for herself. And the person who had been stalking Drea was like, I couldn't let you leave school. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to tell you who the bad person was. Um, if you read this book and you know who it is, drop the first letter of their name in the comments. um, yeah. I like the end of the book, I was like, "Oh, what's gonna happen next?" I was so excited. There was one part I was like, "Oh, idiot. Amber is an idiot." Ah. Um, I feel like Amber never really took it serious anyway, the threats and stuff, so Um, yeah. All right, I will leave it here. I've gone for like 40 minutes. Like this if you read this book and or if you like watching me make a fool of myself and stumble and go ah. Comment below. Did you like this book? Should I read the next book in this series? Let me know. And subscribe to me. Subscribe to me so that you don't have to go searching for my videos. You can just go to subscriptions and then scroll down. I should be one of the first people in your subscription if you subscribe. Yeah, cuz A. All right. I will see you on my next video. Bye.